To prevent their people from being enslaved by Megatron, Optimus Prime and the Autobots scour the planet in search of a lost relic that can help them win the war. Today we're going to recap the first season of the Transformers War for Cybertron trilogy, Siege, from 2020. During a mission to find a fuel called Energon, Bumblebee and Wheeljack end up surrounded by a group of Seekers. However, after an argument between Jetfire and Starscream, the Seekers start fighting each other. At this point, the pair take the opportunity to escape and, during their escape, they come across Megatron. Instead of eliminating them, the evil robot informs them that he also wants to end the war against the Autobots, so he asks Bumblebee and Wheeljack to denounce their friends and join him. However, they both refuse to serve him, so Megatron orders the Seekers to eliminate them. Just as the pair were about to be eliminated, Optimus Prime appears and prepares to defend his allies. Seeing his greatest rival, Megatron asks Optimus to accept his treaty, but the leader of the Autobots knows that by doing so, he will be condemning all the inhabitants of Cybertron to slavery. Determined to end the war once and for all, Megatron attacks Optimus and manages to take him down. Now wounded, Optimus accuses his enemy of having betrayed Alpha Trion in an attempt to prevent him from leading the planet's inhabitants down the path to freedom. Furious at the Autobots' words, Megatron prepares to deliver the final blow and eliminate him, but is surprised by the arrival of Alita, who starts shooting at his enemies. While the Seekers pursue the robot, Optimus and the others take the opportunity to escape and, as soon as their friends are safe, Alita blows up the place. Minutes later, she meets the rest of the group and they all walk together to the ship. Bumblebee is not an Autobot, but has been hired to help Wheeljack find the Energon. When he sees the ship for the first time, he understands why the group needs so much fuel, because if the Ark isn't working properly, everyone will end up eliminated. In a conversation with Ultra Magnus, Optimus is informed that there may be no more Energon available on the planet and, if this is true, they will lose the war. To prevent his group from becoming extinct at the hands of the Decepticons, Magnus asks his leader to accept the treaty proposed by Megatron, but Optimus refuses. After meeting the other Autobots, Bumblebee thanks them for saving him, but says he won't join the group, so Optimus lets him go. Meanwhile, Megatron continues to increase his army and gains an even larger legion of followers. His next objective is to find Optimus Prime and his allies so he can get rid of them, so Megatron sends a group of Seekers to look for them and is informed of the arrival of Ultra Magnus. The military commander of the Autobots claims that he went there to surrender to the Decepticons and requests a meeting with Megatron, his brother. During the conversation, the villain asks for Magnus' help to convince the Autobots to surrender, but the robot says that his allies will never act against what they believe in and ends up being locked up in a cell. When he finds out about Magnus' surrender, Optimus spreads the news to the rest of the team and the Autobots become afraid that their location will be revealed. However, Optimus doesn't believe that his friend is capable of betraying them and comes to the conclusion that Magnus went there with the intention of negotiating with Megatron, but ended up being arrested. Now, more than ever, the robot is determined to win the war and prevent Cybertron from being enslaved. Meanwhile, Shockwave reports having found an ancient weapon capable of helping them win the war. The Allspark can be used to reformat the system of each of the Autobots and turn them into Decepticons, but the problem is that this relic hasn't been seen for thousands of years. Upon hearing this, Magnus informs Optimus Prime about Megatron's new plans and reveals that his brother is looking for the Allspark to annihilate the Autobots and win the war. In an attempt to prevent his enemy from taking control of the entire planet, Optimus also decides to start a hunt and asks Alita to gather all the Autobots in order to find the Allspark. Although she doesn't question her leader's orders, Alita considers it a waste of time to send robots to look for a lost relic, but nevertheless decides to trust Optimus' command. After discovering that Magnus has sent a message to the leader of the Autobots announcing a hunt for the Allspark, Megatron decides to use this to his advantage and contacts Optimus. The villain assumes the identity of Magnus and informs him that the location of the artifact has been found. When he receives the coordinates, Optimus and his team immediately go to the location indicated and end up falling into Megatron's trap. To facilitate the search, the Autobots split up into small groups and walk around the site looking for the Allspark, but all they find is a box of highly concentrated Energon. At that moment, Optimus realizes that he has fallen into a trap and the Seekers start shooting. Immediately, the group has to flee to avoid being destroyed and Cog is wounded during the battle. While trying to protect her friend, Chromia ends up being surrounded and is about to be eliminated when her allies show up to save her. During the battle against a Decepticon, Optimus manages to blow up an enemy aircraft and a large building collapses on top of Impactor. At this point, the Autobots see an opportunity to escape and decide to retreat. Luckily, the group manages to reach the ship and take Cog to the infirmary. Not even the Energon cube that was found, the Autobots manage to take back to the ship, and Optimus orders Wheeljack to continue looking for the true location of the Allspark. At the end of the battle, Soundwave orders his army to take the Energon and return to the base, but the box has disappeared and Megatron is furious to discover that the fuel was stolen during the battle by some unidentified robot. Afraid that, even after finding the Allspark, the Autobots won't be able to protect it, Optimus decides to take the relic off the planet, so that Megatron won't be able to access it. To carry out this mission, it will be necessary to use the space bridge, which is currently broken. In an attempt to find the robot capable of repairing the bridge, Mirage disguises himself as a Decepticon and tries to invade the enemy's camp. Suddenly, the robot sees the bodies of several of his fellow soldiers, and the hologram covering his body begins to fail. At this point, the Decepticons realize that this guy is actually a spy and decide to surround him. Seeing their friend in trouble, Chromia and the others decide to take action and start shooting at their opponents. During the fight, Optimus and Alita manage to eliminate most of the enemies, and Wheeljack joins them in this brutal battle. When the duel comes to an end, all the Decepticons have been annihilated and the group heads for the theater, where they find Ratchet. However, the robot engineer refuses to help them and says that he now only works repairing robots. Realizing that Optimus won't give up trying to convince him to fight in the war, Ratchet points a gun at him and Mirage fires back. When he sees the robot that saved him in danger, Impactor attacks the Autobots, and Alita is furious to discover that Ratchet is also looking after Decepticons. The engineer then reveals that he uses his abilities to restore all the robots that need his help, including the soldiers of the rival army. However, when he discovers that Megatron is after the Allspark, he decides to help the Autobots. Although he doesn't want to get involved in the war, Ratchet knows that if this artifact gets into the wrong hands, everyone on the planet will be in danger. So he agrees to use his skills to repair the space bridge, and Impactor decides to help him, as he swore an oath to protect the people of Cybertron even before he became a soldier of Megatron. Meanwhile, Magnus is being tortured to reveal the location of the Autobots, but refuses to betray his team. As soon as he manages to free himself from the shock machine, the robot steals the guard's gun and goes after Megatron. However, he doesn't have the courage to eliminate his brother, so he ends up being hit by Jetfire and is taken back to his cell. After several hours of extreme suffering at the hands of Shockwave, Magnus decides to reveal the location of his friends. Meanwhile, Optimus and his army are on their way to the space bridge and are caught by Jetfire and Skywarp. Seeing his enemies vulnerable, Skywarp plans to call in reinforcements to eliminate them all at once, but Jetfire disagrees and says he will give the Autobots the chance to surrender. Skywarp then attacks his ally and goes to inform Megatron of Optimus' location. At that moment, the leader of the Decepticons is in an assembly with his allies and orders everyone to start searching for the Allspark. Arriving at the Tarnhause gate, Magnus is forced to guide Megatron to the Autobots' hideout. However, when they get there, the group doesn't find anyone and the villain realizes he's been tricked. Even in the face of elimination, Magnus says he will never betray the Autobots and ends up being eliminated by his own brother. At that moment, a form of energy leaves the robot's body and penetrates Bumblebee's systems. When he realizes that Alpha Trion's protocols have been activated, Optimus learns that Magnus is eliminated and mourns the loss of his friend. After eliminating the Autobot at point-blank range, Megatron orders Jetfire to take Magnus' carcass to Shockwave's laboratory so that he can search the system for information. Just then, Starscream appears and attacks Jetfire, as Skywarp has informed him of what has happened. Upon discovering that Jetfire is a traitor, Megatron orders the Decepticons to destroy him, but the robot manages to escape. During his escape, Jetfire has to dodge dozens of shots and attacks his enemies in flight. After being hit, the aircraft crashes to the ground and Jetfire is seriously injured. Meanwhile, Bumblebee regains consciousness and, as he gets up, realizes that something is wrong with his body. The truth is that all of Alpha Trion's wisdom contained in Magnus has been transferred to him, and the robot finds it very difficult to assimilate such a load of knowledge. After sending Ratchet, Impactor and a team of Autobots to repair the space bridge, Optimus asks Alita to prepare the Ark while he goes to talk to the Guardians. When he finds them, Optimus informs them of Magnus' elimination and asks if the Alpha Trion protocols have been transmitted to any of them. At this point, the Sentinels say they haven't received the data from the protocols, so Optimus asks them to help the Autobots defeat Megatron. However, the Guardians refuse to take part in this war and abandon Optimus, who says he will not give up on saving Cybertron. While Ratchet is getting to the space bridge, a group of Decepticons appear and start attacking them. In order to save the robot that brought him back to life, Impactor jumps on it and ends up getting hit, but soon afterwards, Chromia grabs her weapon and manages to get rid of the enemies. After defeating Jetfire, Starscream is promoted to commander of the Seekers and claims that, under his command, the Decepticon Air Force will eliminate all Autobots. Frustrated after having his request for help denied, Optimus returns to the ship and wonders if his decision to oppose Megatron will be responsible for destroying the entire planet. Just then, Wheeljack arrives with good news and reveals that he has almost succeeded in connecting the Ark so that they can leave the planet. Suddenly, Bumblebee appears escorted by the guards and claims to have an urgent matter to discuss with the leader of the Autobots. Then, when the robot asks about Alpha Trion, Optimus realizes that he was the one chosen to receive the protocols that were being stored by Magnus. Realizing the size of the responsibility he's been given, Bumblebee says he'll pass that data on to another robot, but Optimus says that's not how it works. Just then, Bumblebee receives a message from Alpha Trion and learns why he was chosen to receive the protocols. This data contains a vast collection of information and strategies designed to protect the Autobots in times of great crisis. Alpha Trion wanted these records to be passed on to someone trustworthy who would use them for the good of all. While Optimus received the power of the Matrix, Magnus was tasked with guarding the wisdom acquired through Alpha Trion's experience. Now that the Autobot has been eliminated, the protocols have chosen the most worthy of the Cybertronians to join them, so Bumblebee has been given the mission of supporting Optimus in this war and being at his side to advise him. After his encounter with Alpha Trion, Bumblebee discovers where the Allspark is and decides to use this knowledge to support the Autobots. Suddenly, the invasion alerts go off and Alita is surprised to see a Decepticon approaching the ship alone. After landing, Jetfire, who is seriously injured, says that he didn't go there to fight, but to join Optimus Prime's team. When he discovers that Alpha Trion's protocol has been activated, Shockwave reveals that he has a virus that can be programmed to eliminate the Autobot code. This virus will destroy all processors and mainframes containing the code, but Soundwave warns that this process will cause extreme damage to the planet's structure. Even so, Megatron's greed makes him give Shockwave permission to go ahead with his plan, which consists of using Magnus himself to spread the virus. After being arrested, Jetfire begins to be interrogated by the Autobots and informs them that he was chased after refusing to help Megatron destroy his enemies at point-blank range. The robot has realized that his former leader has been consumed by a dark energy and is now no longer fighting for the good of Cybertron. All Megatron wants is to win that war at any cost. With Bumblebee's help, Wheeljack finds the coordinates of the Allspark and discovers that the artifact has been hidden in the Rust Sea. The problem is that no Autobot has ever managed to return from this place and Bumblebee claims that only a Seeker is capable of carrying out this mission. Optimus then has to make a difficult decision and decides to give Jetfire a vote of confidence. The Decepticons' mission will be to recover the Allspark and take it to the Autobots' ship. After several hours of work, Ratchet finally manages to repair the space bridge and, by turning it on, attracts the attention of his enemies. To prevent its location from being discovered, Mirage uses her powers to create a hologram around the bridge and prevent the Decepticons from realizing that it has been turned on. After invading Magnus' brain module, Shockwave activates the virus and then spreads it all over the planet. While Optimus prepares to accompany Jetfire on the Allspark search mission, RC and Cog accompany Bumblebee to Sound Blaster's hideout to steal the Energon spheres. Within the first few hours of being activated, the virus created by Shockwaves reached 87% contamination and will soon eradicate Alpha Trion's code wherever it is. After realizing the presence of the virus in the Ark system, Alita contacts the Autobots and orders everyone to return to the ship as soon as possible. However, when she tries to contact Optimus, she realizes that the signal has been cut. Meanwhile, the leader of the Autobots is on his way to the Rust Sea with his team and has to deal with a lightning storm. Following Jetfire's instructions, everyone makes it out alive and prepares for the next challenge. Large metal vortices block the path to the Rust Sea and Prowl ends up being sucked into them. Seeing the robot in danger, Jetfire flies out to meet him and manages to rescue him, proving his loyalty to the Autobots. The moment the virus infects 100% of the ship's system, the disguise hologram is deactivated and the Autobots are completely vulnerable. After identifying them, Shockwave reveals the location of the enemies to Megatron and the villain says he will personally lead an attack on the Autobots. When he finds Sound Blaster, Bumblebee informs him that he has gone there to get him some more Energon and is guided to the warehouse. After taking a guard hostage, RC orders his ally to get the Energon cubes, but the pair soon discover that they have fallen into a trap. Upon arriving in the Rust Sea, Optimus and his team are surprised by zombie robots who, despite their completely rusted bodies, manage to surround the invaders. After being caught by Sound Blaster, Bumblebee and his friends are about to be destroyed when the virus disables the electrical power to the hideout and the Autobots have the chance to escape. During the escape, Bumblebee realizes that Alpha Trion's code has been hacked and passes out, so RC has to take control of the vehicle. During the battle against the Sparkless, Moonracer ends up being eliminated, at which point Optimus spots the Allspark and runs towards it. After taking the sacred relic, he manages to eliminate all the zombie robots and the Autobots' hope is renewed. When he arrives at the ship, Cog hands Alita the Energon and, after inserting the fuel into the ship, she asks Wheeljack to take off as quickly as possible. Minutes later, the Decepticons appear and Bumblebee wakes up in the middle of the battle. At that moment, he realizes that the protocols have been deleted from his system, but he doesn't let it get him down and quickly grabs a weapon to defend himself against the enemy army. Noticing that Optimus has managed to take the Allspark, Megatron goes after him and the two meet on the space bridge. Then, when the villain sends his soldiers to eliminate Optimus, Jetfire appears and unleashes missiles to fight the Decepticons. In the meantime, Wheeljack manages to reactivate the ship and Alita orders everyone to prepare for the launch. A few seconds later, the Ark takes off, but when it reaches the space bridge, they realize that the structure is still not connected. While running to activate it, Ratchet becomes a target for the Seekers and is about to be shot when Impactor jumps in front of him and sacrifices himself to save him. At that moment, Optimus is trying to reach the bridge with the Allspark, but is being chased by the enemy army. In an attempt to buy time for their leader to complete the mission, Alita and a small group of Autobots enter the battle to defeat the enemies, then Megatron takes it upon himself to go after Optimus Prime personally. After defeating his greatest rival in a duel, Megatron steals the Allspark and intends to use it to eliminate the few remaining Autobots. However, before the villain could carry out his dirty plan, Bumblebee appears and shoots him. Optimus then gets up and knocks Megatron out with one punch. The robot quickly takes the artifact back and throws it at the space bridge, sending Cybertron's most powerful object off the planet. Furious, Megatron orders his Decepticons to eliminate all the Autobots, but his plans are interrupted once again when one of the Guardians appears and decides to enter the fray. While Omega Supreme fights Megatron, the leader of the Autobots gathers his entire team and orders them to meet at the Ark. Just then, Red Alert is shot down and Alita decides to go after him. Before she goes to save her friend, she says goodbye to Optimus and tells him that she will remain on the planet to protect what is left of Cybertron. Even with a broken heart, the robot orders Ironhide to cross the bridge and, after the Ark is sent into space, the space bridge is destroyed. Now, Alita needs to gather the few remaining Autobots to defeat Megatron and Jetfire says he will join them in this battle. So what did you think of this movie? Leave it in the comments below. And if you liked the video, like and subscribe for more movie recaps. See you next time.